To be fair, Richard B always says that he's not
I've heard you
happy
say
because he's successful.
Yeah.
He's successful because he's happy.
What underrated lessons you've taken from him that you'd only get from him by being on Necker Island with him?
I mean, again, the not knowing where there is a really powerful one. The power of simplicity. I love how he looks at businesses, and I've been really fortunate.
So how go into the simplicity
for instance, so I was in Africa with Richard a few years ago, and he was sort of sitting in his chair where he looks with his PA, and they were, again, he's got a fantastic view of the
chair overlooks
Sabi Sands. It overlooks Sabi Sands, incredible view, and again you can see wildlife coming past and stuff. And as always, he's got messages and emails and stuff to do. And I think Helen went off to go and do something, and Richard was just sort of sat there on his iPad, and I was just sort of walking past, and our eyes caught, and he said, "Oh, do you want to kind of have a sit down?" He was looking at buying Grenade at the time, so this was 2017, which didn't happen actually, but I'm glad that didn't happen. But I'll come into that later. He was looking at Grenade. We sat and chatted about Grenade, and I said, "Oh, what are you working on?" And he was working on Virgin Galactic, and he got it on his iPad. And he just showed me the 20 questions that he was asking his team about space travel.
What were some of those questions?
Oh, just what does it cost to build a spaceship, basically? How long would how many trips could you do in a day or in a week? How many crew there'd be, the staff that were involved, where it would go from, where it would go to. Just the most simple questions you could think, what each trip would cost them in terms of their hard costs. What do they think they could charge a consumer? I mean, just the most basic question you could think of for any business. And it was space travel.
Yeah.
And I just thought, God, he simplified that. Yeah, I mean, there'll be a load of stuff beyond that, obviously, but he just likes simplicity. And the answers to those questions would tell him whether or not that was worth pursuing or not.
It's mad, mate. Because
the power of simplicity should never be underestimated, to be fair.
So out of everything on your journey, mate, what are some 1, 2, 3 questions that you sort of like to ask yourself, not necessarily to the team, but it's just to get a steer on how things are going, or if you've got a problem, you're like, I don't know, it could be...
I still think it comes back down to my 5 or 6 rules of investing, as in the sense, looking at Grenade, and again, going back 10 years and looking at the growth of the protein bars. First thing going, would I eat this? Because if I wouldn't, why would anyone else?
Yeah.
Secondly, would I pay that? Where would I buy it from? What are my alternatives? What else is on the market? And I think just being really honest with yourself it is pretty important, because I think people aren't honest with themselves, and they convince themselves that they've got different answers maybe to those questions than they really have. So I think, for me, is there a better one? Why can I make a best version of this that's not just slightly better than the next brand? Because why bother? Can I make something that's just miles ahead of the competition? And actually, to be fair, when Mondelez invested us in 2021, they had some very interesting thoughts about India, China, and America in terms of launching there. And actually, we were in America at the time, and we're going back to America with Oreo. And they said, with America, for instance, can you be the number 1 selling protein bar and hold it for the next 25 years? And that was one of their questions. And I said, no.
Why?
And they said, because at the time we'd got, I think, again, going back to say 2021, our protein bars made with, Belgian sugar-free chocolate were better than American chocolate bars, which are made with compound chocolate. But that's what I think.
What's compound chocolate? Is that
So compound chocolate is a specific chocolate which has got a different melting point and is better sold in countries where they've got hotter temperatures. The UK is not a hot place.
Is that why English chocolate tastes so different?
That's one of the reasons it tastes different, because having a chocolate bar in Texas...
Hershey's is fucking rank, I think.
This actually answers the question. So I think our chocolate's better.
As in the UK
as in UK versus America, let's say. But there's a reason for that, because I grew up with it and you grew up with it, because we grew up with Cadbury. Yeah. Therefore, we like Cadbury. Now, the American consumer can like ours. They can think, actually, that Grenade bar's nice, but they still like theirs because they grew up with Hershey.
Yeah.
The chocolate their moms gave them when they were 5
They
or
call it
6.
candies, don't
Yeah,
they?
that's the
fucking
thing. You
candies.
see, so they really like Hershey.
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
chocolate, which again, probably
never thought of
we
that.
don't.
I'd never thought
well,
of that.
because you like what you grew up with.
Yeah, and what is that?
So-
How's that different to India and China? Do they have a different palate?
So China sounds bizarre. Snacking's not really a thing in the same way. They'll snack on different foods than we would snack on.
What,
And
such
they're
as,
Well, they like stuff that we wouldn't eat, don't they? So again, you get things like insects as snacks, and there's just they've just got a lot stranger, probably strange to us.
yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, put it this way: chocolate's not really a thing. You know, they don't snack on chocolate when they're kids. India, again, hot country. You know, an enormous amount of poverty. So you've got, there's not really that middle class potentially in India. It's getting there, but you've just got really rich people and really poor people. And I think, so again, chocolate wasn't so much of a thing. And again, you've got huge import taxes of like 70% at the time, which actually now as of this week are probably going to change. And you've got a hot country and the demographics not really there the same. So some of these markets, I think even, Cadbury's there. And I think for the size of the country, Cadbury would do better probably in smaller Scandinavian countries than it does in the likes of India. So all of these countries have their own anomalies, let's say. And so I thought the question for Mondelez, can you be number one and hold it? And me saying no. And as such, we pulled out the US. So, but now we've got Oreo. And Americans like Oreo. And if they want Oreo in a protein bar,
Would you change the
that's my
chocolate
ass.
to compound, or
no,
does that?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I'd still keep it the same chocolate. So I'd
Yeah.
still keep it the same.
I'm
sugar-free
a
chocolate.
big consumer, right? So but I would say the one that
Still got the issue with melting point. So our chocolate will melt at a lower temperature than compound chocolate does. But that's where then we either compromise, which I don't want to do, or we have an incredible delivery option where it's kind of refrigerated to someone's front door. We've done that in the past. We were shipping protein bars in 2021. We were shipping protein bars to Texas in a heat wave, and we were getting them all the way from Europe to someone's front door in Texas, and they were perfect. The problem being then if that person wasn't in,
oh yeah,
they melt on the doorstep, and then it's our fault.
Yeah.
And then you've got a shitty message of a consumer,
Yeah.
probably to me,
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
your product's rubbish.
yeah.
So we can only control the parts of the delivery that we can control.
yeah.
I think, again, to probably say then, what are the things that you've learned? Just anything you can control, you should try and control it. But there's a lot of things beyond our control. And sometimes that's the thing, like the chocolate bar on the doorstep in Texas.
Yeah.
I can't do anything about that. If someone's not in, they're not in. But the thing is there, and that's interesting, that product was ruined and then it's my fault somehow. I can't do anything about that. So sometimes you have to be careful the battles that you fight because we're not going to win that one.
Espressos is sponsored by supply chain software gurus Unleashed. It talks to your e-com and accounting software. It's helped islands cut admin time in half, get granular clarity on your margins, know where your stock is, don't miss availability. Brands like Candy Kittens, Tiny Rebel, and Trip all use Unleashed, and so should you.